Hello, it's Fabian with you once again for another video tutorial. Today we'll be discussing a method of dramatically reducing cable friction if you happen to have an older style rear derailleur such as this Shimano Dior LX. Typically they used to run the cable in a fairly large loop. It would come back into the cable adjuster. The Avid Rollamajig that you can see here in yellow is a method of simply routing the cable around the roller and back into the cable adjuster. This does two things. It reduces friction and it also shortens the cable, which again reduces friction. What would normally happen when the cable would get a little bit old, or you run through mud or dirt or whatever it might be, and then you've pressure washed it, the dirt would end up running into the cable inner and you'd end up with a lot of extra friction. So when you would typically want the chain to climb down the sprockets, it would resist. So you might get it to go down a couple of sprockets, then you'd move your shifting mechanism and it would do nothing, and then it might drop 2 or 3 sprockets in a go. This method here just simply reduces friction all the way through the system. The Avid Rollamajig is fairly cheap. It's around about $10 or $15, and I got mine through Chain Reaction Cycles. So you can see it there. The Avid Rollamajig. The next thing I wanted to discuss is the installation of the Mtbtools, or I should say the Mtbtools 41 tooth rear cassette sprocket. What you can see is the 36 tooth that I've bought, which has a dish. Okay. This particular sprocket would normally be your largest sprocket, but installed on my bike at the moment, or my non-motorised bicycle, I have the 41 tooth version of this. 41 tooth version is here. The next one in is a 29er, I should say, sprocket, which is a 36 tooth. So if you look there, you've got the 41 and the 36. The way that these work is they use a spacer. You'll get a 1mm and a 0.5mm spacer. I found with an 8-speed system it operates quite well if you run 2 1mm spacers, and with a 9-speed system it works quite well if you run 2 1mm or 2.5mm spacers, or a single 1mm spacer. That there is a 0.5. The way that these work is you have to remove the largest sprocket from your cassette and then put this particular sprocket in its place. The dish always faces you. In this case here, if you're looking at the right hand side of the bike, the dish will face you, placing the sprocket teeth as far back as they possibly can go. Okay, what would normally happen is that spacer would sit in position like so, and then the next sprocket would go over the top. Now I'm going to try and demonstrate this in operation so you can see that a standard type long cage rear derailleur will actually move the chain up onto a 41 tooth sprocket, although it has been modified slightly, which I'll explain in a moment. So let's have a go at this. So we're on the 41 at the moment. We've now dropped down to a 36. You can see it's on the 36. We've now dropped down to a 30. Onto a 24. Onto a 21. Onto a 17. Onto a 14, onto a 12, and onto an 11 tooth sprocket. Now we'll go back up this system. We're starting off at an 11. Shift the gear up onto the 12, up on the 14, 17, 21. 24, 28. Oh, sorry, the 26, the 36 and the 41. So the most important things are the change from the 36 to the 41. So you can see there you're on the 36, up onto the 41, 36, 41, 36, 30, back up to the 36, back up to the 41, back down, 1, all the way through the system. I'll just get this thing to stop moving for a moment. So as you can see, it works perfectly well. The only thing that has to be done is you have to get more preload on the rear derailleur to swing the rear derailleur further back so it will clear the 41 tooth sprocket. The method that I've used, I hope this is going to work on the video, is to install a nut on the B screw. We'll see if we can do this. Okay. You can see there that on the B screw, if you bear with me, forgive the shakes. Okay. I'm going to try to get this all lined up. Okay. This here is the B screw. Right there. And you can see there's a nut that's been attached onto the B screw, and that nut there simply allows the derailleur to swing back further. Normally, if you didn't have that nut on there, you wouldn't be able to swing the derailleur that far back. The nut is just simply there as a packing device so that it allows the rear derailleur to swing further back and thereby clear the 41 tooth sprocket. So what I've done is I've just installed a long 4mm screw and then threaded a 4mm nut onto the screw and stopped the nut and Loctited the nut in position where it would touch the hanger. And that there has enabled me to get enough preload to swing the rear derailleur back further and to clear the 41 tooth sprocket. Coming back to the front. The 41 tooth sprocket is actually a monster. If I can get it to focus again. I think that there, the disc on the left hand side of the bike is a 6-inch disc or 150mm disc, and you can see that the 41 tooth sprocket, it dwarfs the rear disc. It is an absolute monster. If you shift across to the front chainring, that's a 44 tooth chainring. It's a 41 tooth rear sprocket. It's an absolute monster. We come around the other side. Okay, we'll line it up. You can see that sprocket is an absolute monster. Come back. Try and settle it back down. Now, as far as getting it onto the top chainring on the bottom bracket, which we'll bring up, so forgive the shakes. Alright. So now the chain is on the large chainring. Okay, we'll come around a bit. We'll go through the process of moving the gears on the rear cassette. So 11, 12, 14, 17, 21, 24 from memory, 30, 36, 41. So you can see it skips up quite nicely. and back down through the system. Picking up individual gears. Come back a little bit. Now, although the 41 may not be needed in an unmotorised application, if you happen to be hauling a lot of weight, or you happen to be going up steep inclines, such as in an alpine environment, particularly in a motorised application, it's quite important that you can just very, very carefully pick your way through obstacles and move over rocks and just simply crawl the bike. That's where the 41 tooth really comes into its own. So at the moment I have the Mtbtools 38 tooth sprocket on my motorised bicycle. I wasn't able to get the 41 tooth on there with a SRAM Type 1 rear derailleur because the inner part of the cage would hit the top part of the teeth of the 41 tooth sprocket. However, with the Type 2 SRAM rear derailleurs, apparently the top jockey wheel is in a slightly different position and it will clear the 41 tooth sprocket. The other thing that I can do is to simply file away the bottom part of this cage, and I believe the Type 1 SRAM rear derailleur will jump up onto the 41 tooth sprocket. So I'm just in the process of ordering a Type 2 X9 SRAM rear derailleur, which will allow me to take the 41 tooth off my non-motorised bicycle and put it on the motorised bicycle. So I just wanted to prove to you today that you can have a mega wide range gearing system if you're prepared to jailbreak a 29er cassette which has a 36 tooth sprocket, and also jailbreak a 3211 9-speed cassette, or alternatively an 8-speed cassette if you're going to use an 8-speed system, and you're able to get this mega wide range of ratios happening 11 through to 41. So you have good road speed and you also have enormous hill climbing ability should you require it. It's just the best of both worlds. Hope it's been of help. Thank you.